Okay, this is Growing Food and Justice, Dismantling Racism Through Sustainable Food Systems from Race, Class, and Gender 10th edition by Alfonso Morales. So many Americans, especially low-income people of color, are overweight yet malnourished. And this is the result of food insecurity, which is the disruption of eating patterns because of lack of money or other resources. Millions of households in America are food insecure. An example of food insecurity would be people with type 2 diabetes who end up buying food that's unhealthy because it's the cheapest in price, which exacerbates their medical condition and can ultimately take their lives. But when you have so little money, you're going to buy the things you can afford. And our culture, especially in low-income food deserts, it's fast food and processed low-cost foods, often from convenience stores, not large grocery stores, that are what's available. So the healthy foods often are expensive and largely inaccessible in many places, which affects residents' health. So this is why the article argues that people are not just food insecure, they're victims of food injustice. So the article also does this and illustrates this by examining the Growing Food and Justice for All initiative, or what they call the GFJI. So when it comes to food justice in historical and contemporary economic context, first the article talks about supermarket redlining. So this is the process by which corporations avoid low-profit areas, which means many do not have local access to grocery stores. And the historical context is important to understand, as how we got to this unequal result is important to unpack so we can see how to build better, more equitable systems in the future. So the book or the article talks about how in 1914, American cities have small neighborhood grocery stores, on average, one on every street corner. Grocery stores were consolidated in the years after, and when white flight took place, the large chain stores that emerged followed the middle class into the suburbs. And so this mass departure reduced food access for low-income and minority communities. Research has found that 4 times as many grocery stores are present in predominantly white neighborhoods than in predominantly black ones. And other studies noted that inner-city supermarkets have higher prices, a smaller selection of fresh, whole grain and nutritious foods as well. So we can see that this inequity is throughout that whole system. So this links to the impacts, as poor nutrition is a risk factor in 4 of the 6 leading causes of death in the U.S., specifically heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and cancer. So race and class inequities produce insufficient nutrition and increase food-related diseases. And so food deserts, as we see, are the result of history and a racist and classist social structure that affects the organization of food systems. All right, moving on to food justice and the Growing Food and Justice for All initiative. So the movement arises from the racial inequality in food access and its accompanying public health problems. The Growing Food and Justice for All initiative focuses explicitly on racism and sustainable food systems, creating a space for a diverse community to join and support each other to eradicate racism and grow sustainable food systems. Racially diverse households and farmers are some of the most at-risk groups in the communities targeted by USDA community food projects. Just to clarify, USDA grant programs are the primary funding source for community-based food and agricultural projects nationwide. Also, the article touches upon, but it's important for context to remember, that agriculture itself has corporatized so that huge agriculture businesses monocrop and control various aspects of the food production, which often uses many pesticides, abuses farm worker labor for pennies, while denying them basic standards of living, fair pay, or any medical coverage, while they provide food for everyone. According to the organization Farm Aid, a handful of corporations control our food from farm to fork. Their unbridled power grants them increasing political influence over the rules that govern our food system and allows them to manipulate the marketplace, pushing down the prices paid to family farmers and driving them out of business. And for consumers, extreme consolidation leaves fewer choices in the grocery aisle. In total, our corporate-controlled food system damages rural communities, local economies, public health, and the water needed to sustain food production. So moving back to the article, the Growing Food and Justice Initiative demonstrates the widespread appeal of an organization that combines the challenging topics of racism, sustainable agriculture, and food security in communities. They explicitly reject colorblindness. The initiative helps connect communities and relate racial social critique to anti-racist tools of sustainable agriculture in the service of creating a nationwide food network dedicated to implementing food justice strategies. The group provides an essential sense of belonging as well. So by placing racism at the forefront, this allows members to feel comfortably engaged in a community that shares their aspirations and ideals. Again, these groups can then connect and support each other, showing how these coalitions create strength and better advocacy.